Well, hello and welcome to Fun Fantasy FPL. My name is Harry and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you all. I'm Stephen Berry. Happy Christmas and all that sort of jazz. Barry, I hope you had a nice festive season.
Yeah, it was very festive, Stephen, filled with goals, 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 football, football, football. Much to the annoyance of my
Woo!
family, who, when they realised all the games for Boxing Day were on Amazon Prime, they didn't realise what I meant by that is I was going to sit on the sofa from about 12 until 10 watching all of the games.
Yeah.
But since then, they've been another game week. All sorts of chaos happened. We're recording this on the 2nd, so the game week has finished. I finished on 71 points, which I was quite happy with, but it was a rank full thanks to
hmm
the remarkable boot of Trent Alexander-Arnold, I suspect.
Yeah.
But I did get a couple of returns in there. Rogers, Isaac, Robinson got an assist, and Robinson and Robertson. Saar had a goal ruled off, I think, again, and had a good chance as well to score. And João Pedro is sitting on my bench with 9 points, but
Ah,
yeah, that's it for this week. So an average week, I'd say. What about yours,
yeah.
Stephen? How did it
Not great.
go? Good start.
I,
Good start.
I, well, the games came too thick and fast. I forgot to change my captain, so I had Odegaard as my captain because of Roll when we played Ipswich the other week. I know this is one of the first times I would have gone Salah because I think it was I had no real other contender really. Maybe I would have gone Isaac against Man U. Actually, I probably would have done given my lack of faith towards Man U, which they keep delivering on week after week.
Mhm.
I'd like to say maybe I would have gone 8 Nori. He got me 10 points, which was absolutely hilarious, by the way. Especially the FPL community. You hold him for all that time, and then he bangs in 2 assists and gets 10 points, which is lovely. But no, I had somebody who says he doesn't really care that much about goals and assists as my captain versus Mohamed Salah. That was always going to go pretty badly wrong. And then comically, Sanchez didn't start in goal, and neither did Gusto, and Fabianski's obviously injured. So lots of I only had 9 players in the end.
9 players. Who Gusto didn't play, and you got
So
John
Gus oh
Stones.
Gusto, sorry, I take it back. Gusto did come on, got a yellow card, and therefore got 0 points. So there we go. He deprived me of
Strong.
my one Digne point as well.
Yeah, your one Dinya point that would have taken you to 55 points overall.
Yeah.
Where does that take you in the world? Do you know?
I'm hovering still within the 6 millionth rank. What surprised me actually was the average. I was around the average until the Arsenal Brentford game, and then the average went up. So a lot of people have gone Martinelli and Jesus. I doubt Marino is that highly owned. I mean,
But
I
Bremo
guess.
and Bremo is quite highly owned. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a couple of dead teams that are still sitting on
Yeah.
him. I mean, did you see as well the hilarious stat that he is below 48 players in terms of XG in it
Wow.
like as an average, like so he is massively outperforming. Yeah, he's 29% owned, right?
Right.
He's also got Southampton away next, and he's got City and Liverpool. And it goes into a bit of a horrible run, but um, yeah. So 7.7 million. He's still highly owned. If he does things, it does
Fair
affect your rank
enough.
like that.
Fair enough. But I think you're going to say when you talked about him and stats that he's scored, I don't know, 36 goals, and all of the Bryans in the Premier League have scored 42 of those goals, which is an Adam Hurrey or something like that. Adam Hurrey from
No,
Football Cliches, the best football podcast out there. It needs to be said.
yeah.
He found that little gem of a stat. But there you go, Brian. Remember, a stats man in many ways.
You could have kept that for the question, mate. Which would, it would have been a great question.
Could have been.
Cool. So, yeah, as per, we're going to go through a few games that we found interesting from an FPL perspective, and then sort of any ideas, choices, transfers we're thinking about, plus our sort of rogue, middling, and sort of banker shouts that we want to talk about. If I can go first, Stephen, I'd like to
Please.
talk about A Tale of Two Cities, which I've definitely
Ooh.
robbed from the commentators. You can tell I watched Match of the Day recently. Leicester Man City. So, bit of an odd game to pick, I would suggest. But the reason why I want to do it is because I did watch, I watched it obviously Match of the Day and watched a bit more of a few of the highlights as well. And it seems to me that this result really covers up the cracks of where Man
Yes.
City are. At 1-0, Leicester looked like the most likely team to score. Vardy had a couple of great chances, should have scored. Couple was offside for 100% a penalty shout in the first half as well. He looked as lethal as he always does. So Vardy could have quite easily hauled in this game. And, as a 5.5 striker, it does make him very appealing. He's currently sitting on Rita's bench. And they have an okay. I can't remember the one they're actually on after
Oh,
this, but
you've read my mind. I was looking at Leicester as one of the rogue categories. They
already.
do have an okay. They've got Villa next, international break, then Palace at home, which I think you must describe as a must-win. Fulham
Yeah.
at home, Tottenham away, which means from an attacking perspective, pretty good, and
They
then
were
Everton
all on the
away.
break,
So
all on the break. Vardy in
yeah,
behind. We've got defenders that can't turn around. So I mean,
yeah,
he's going to have a lot of luck. Um,
yeah. So yeah, no, I think Leicester attackers definitely. I would put them in the on the roguish side, yes, but I would agree
yeah,
with you.
but I don't think it's that rogue though, Stephen. I honestly think that
Oh
Vardy
wow.
could get maybe one return in every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
And for a 5.5 striker, that's all you can really hope for and expect.
Mm,
Um, so I'd be, if you're looking for I know João Pedro, you got a return this week, but he's been pissing me off. So to be
mm.
honest, I've been wanting to put him in the bin for a while. So I'm in the market for a 5.5 striker, Stephen.
And
Um,
Brighton have Arsenal next
options,
as well. So he's probably not
suggestions,
going to get a
welcome.
return. No, I mean I know we like doing the tips at the end, but I agree with you. I like Leicester. Mavadidia, I can feel it in my balls, a hall. I can just feel it with him. That there's a hat trick around the corner with that man, and he's going to be in my team every game week, apart from that game week where he gets that hat trick, or he's going to be on my bench or something. But you can sense it. You can
He's
definitely
gonna be
sense
third
this.
on your bench, Stephen. I think what you need to do is
Yeah,
you need to trick the FPL gods, put it third on
yeah,
your bench, and then like a minute before deadline, switch it around. They won't notice. They
yeah. Well,
won't.
I think I've already burnt my transfers this week. By the way, I brought. I mean, actually, we'll do my just at the end. Apparently, I must have drunkenly done a transfer while at some point over the festive season because I just took a -4 for a transfer, but I don't remember what the other transfer was that I did. So unless FPL's broken and they didn't give me a
we'll,
transfer this
we'll
week,
we'll
but
we'll explore that in a bit. But just to finish off on the Tale of Two Cities, um, yeah, I mean, look, as I said, I just think like the thing about City, the conclusion I have of this is City are not back, as we like to say.
yeah,
Haaland is still too expensive. Defensively, I would sell if he was still there. And look, as much as I hate to agree with Danny Murphy, Kevin De Bruyne did look very good. So the only best benefit or positive I can see from that, from the performance in general, is that as a sub £10 million midfielder, if that was how much De Bruyne was a few years ago, you'd snap his hand off to get him, wouldn't you? And
mm,
with no Saka around and not many people owning Haaland who are in like the active, FPL players, you're going to have a bit more cash. And City have an okay run. They're a good team. De Bruyne should start lots of those games. Obviously, rotation risks are going to be there, but so I think maybe have a look at KDB. Mind you, the last time I said this about a player, Dominic Szoboszlai,
yeah.
he didn't start, and then he also got his yellow card now suspended. So anything could happen. De Bruyne could break his
You,
leg now.
you
I don't
you've been banging the KDB drum for a while, and I admire your persistence there.
know.
But Barry, unlike drums that I've been talking about Vardy, Amad Diallo, I'm able to beat the drum ahead, and people come round to me. Maybe this could be yours. Again, your
Maybe.
rogue shout, that one of the best midfielders the Premier League has ever seen. Maybe he might
He is
pick
one of
up
the
good.
best midfielders the Premier League's ever seen. I mean, we can't deny that.
Hmm.
But yeah, so those are my thoughts. I think like Leicester, like I said, Leicester look good. I think the manager was really adept to say that the performances are there, but the results haven't come yet. They look more expansive and an attacking team. Um, yeah, so I would go. I would say Vardy and KDB are the picks from that game.
Yeah, okay. Um, the rest of the fixtures, I mean, I guess I don't think there's too many that's worth talking about. For example, Nottingham Forest, Everton. We know Nottingham Forest are good. We know that Everton are bad. Manchester United, Newcastle, very much the same story. I'm sure everyone
Well,
watched that game, and
so
wow.
Stephen, my second game is United versus United because I was going to have a continuity to my points. You see, can you
Okay.
tell listeners I actually prepared this week? Would you believe it?
Okay, in which
Um,
case I will leave Manchester United. I was going to leave them anyway. I guess the game that I should probably talk about is Ipswich Chelsea. So what's quite interesting about that is that Chelsea rested slash rotated a few players, and Cuckoo got a start. Joao Felix, um, Sanchez. I don't know if he was dropped or rotated. I really don't know. I'm not sure you can ever tell with that man. That's two losses on the spin now. Malloy, he also came back in. So what does that mean? I think it means that I think that's probably a bit of a wake up call to them. I know the manager said we're not in the title race, we're a young team, and yes, there's a little bit of that, but I think that's probably a good reminder to the manager that you've got your starting eleven is pretty good, but any sort of rotation or risk, they're gonna you're gonna be jeopardizing it basically. I don't think Chelsea's to sells. Obviously, Jackson I think is one of the most transferred players out. I think, which I think is a mistake. If you have him, again, I wouldn't recommend buying him, but I think if you
Mm.
have him, I would personally hold. He's got Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves. Those are three pretty nice fixtures. Well, maybe not Bournemouth, but they're at home. So this is what it is with Chelsea. I wouldn't throw the baby out of the bathwater. If you have them, hold them. If you have Palmer, if you have Jackson, hold them. If you want to buy somebody, probably Cucurella, who's the guaranteed fullback for them. He seems because they don't really have a backup left back, do they? They play Gusto left back, but he's right-footed. So
And Chilwell.
Chilwell, I don't know what's happened to him.
Where is he? Yeah.
Did he not get registered or something? Was that the
Yeah.
European maybe?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Colwell starts every week as well, so he's also left footed. Maybe he might get a go at left back, but probably not. So yeah, basically, I wouldn't panic with Chelsea. I think people have been panicking with Chelsea, like, oh, they're now going to start on a bad run. I don't think so. I think the manager will have taken that he'll have taken that rotation with a pretty bad, like, okay, I can't be too.
Yeah.
I need to basically stick with my team basically, and I would expect less rotation as a result of the last 2 weeks versus more, especially when they play a completely different team in Europe anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and they got Palace away, Bournemouth at home, Wolves at home, which is an okay fixture run. I think Bournemouth's probably the hardest game in there, and then they got City away. That's got Palmer hat trick written all over it just for the
It does
lulz.
actually.
So yeah, Chilwell is still in the game, so he's still there.
Yeah.
And for some reason, 0.5% of the game own him. If you are one of those 0.5%, you need to sell him. He has not got a single point in the game. Um, so yeah, look, I thought it was quite interesting because, and big up to Ipswich. They played well. They made it difficult. They were hostile, as they should be. And as a Spurs fan, as you being an Arsenal fan, we both love to laugh at Chelsea. Um, but I do agree with you. It's kind of like been a bit of a wake up call that I think that most of their fans knew this. The fans, I know no fans that were saying we were in the title race because they put together some really good performances. Somehow it was working, but fatigue was always going to get there. And if they started rotating because of that fatigue, players that were coming in and maybe didn't have the confidence or weren't up to speed with kind of, really going for it on the pitch in the way that Maresca wants, I can see a couple of results like that happening. And look, the Fulham one was a bit of a freak result, I'd say. The Ipswich one was, I mean, the penalty was just soft as you like. Roy Keane,
Mm.
his head exploded when he saw that. Yeah, so, but I don't know. Did it say anything about the Ipswich team? Because
So they
are
played
there
well
any?
against us. I watched them. They played well against us at the same time that we actually play very much like Newcastle did in the second half against Man U, which is we've already won. We don't need to win 10-0 against these minnows, this pathetic sham of a team. So let's just sit back and pretty comfortably take the 3 points. A lot of people, myself included, were laughing at us or mocking us or going, oh my God, we're keeping it in the corner. But fundamentally, Ipswich had 0 XG. We got 3 points and Chelsea just lost to them. So who are in the title race, by the way, despite them trying to say otherwise. This is a bottle of Arsenal proportions, in my opinion. But no, I mean, Delap does look good. I mean, he is still quite cheap, isn't he?
Hmm.
So I think Delap is a cheap forward.
5.5, yeah. I mean, he's
Yeah.
decent. I think
Yeah.
Rory Delap. Yeah, I said Rory Delap there. Jesus. Yeah, I think Delap's probably their best option, I would say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think we've learned anything about Ipswich, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing interesting anyway.
Cool, cool. Okay, great. Yeah, so like I said, I wanted to talk about as I talked about the Tale of Two Cities, it's a Tale of Two Uniteds. Doesn't quite work,
Mm-hmm.
but stick with me.
Yep.
So we've discussed a lot about Man United, and so has every single publication in the world. And so I will try and not go over old ground and produce some content that's relatively interesting. So we know that Newcastle, in the main, play with a midfield three of Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton. Joelinton sometimes has gone up, but then if you play Murphy and Gordon, then that's the front three, and then your back three, your sort of midfield three. That's how they play. Okay, and Amarin knows that, and that entire mid three are below 30 years old. The oldest
Hmm.
chap in there, I had to Google this, was Joe Linton. He's 28. Tonali's 24 as well, by the way. I mean, he
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
about 44.
He does.
Which is just how
It looks like he's gone through the divorce and he's bought a convertible. Yeah,
yeah.
that sort of guy.
He's already midway through his midlife crisis. Anyway,
That's what
so they're going through. They're young, energetic midfield, and Amarin decides the solution to this midfield is 32-year-old Casemiro and 32-year-old Ericsson. That's what he decides. Mainu didn't play; he was on the bench, right? And then he came on, I think, later on.
Xerxes got hooked in the
30 minutes. Yeah.
And then
which is mental. Like he had to change it. I mean, credit to him. Changing something at 30 minutes is always kind of frowned upon a little bit, but it was good that he did, because otherwise it would have been an absolute cricket score. I mean, there's one chance that you should Google, and it was it says a chance, wasn't a goal, but it was Tonali had the final shot, but it was absolutely stunning. The build up. I mean, it was an inch or two on the other side, and it was a goal, and it would have been probably one of the goals of the season. It was beautiful, but they were passing through that midfield, cutting it apart. And I've seen a lot of Man United commentators talk about the fact that he's playing his own style and he's trying to get the players to buy into it. I think what I'm seeing are players that are not willing to buy into it, that don't believe in it. They don't believe either they can do it or that it works. So I think from an FPL perspective, this means sell anything that's even touches Man United. I'm even thinking about selling Ahmad. They have Southampton, they have Liverpool next, but then Southampton after. So I kind of don't want to on that basis alone. But I think if you have any Man United players, put them in the bin. And I also think that a triple Newcastle is definitely reasonable at this stage. And they're playing Tottenham next, so they're going to get loads of chances.
Barry, again, you and I are worryingly on the same wavelength, so I was going to talk about that a bit later. In terms of, I might as well say it now. Isaac's my captain this week, but we'll.
Yes.
I will talk about Spurs. We can talk about Spurs a bit in a second, but just Man, yeah, 100% agree. You shouldn't be owning Bruno Fernandes. You never should, quite frankly, at any point during this season. And Diallo, I mean, so I think he's a bit cheaper still than Rodgers, who's going on a little bit of a run. Aston Villa, by the way, have an excellent run. My transfer in this week is Kuna. I think he's only going to go 1 game ban in the end, but Wolves' run is awful. Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool. Wolves have had that. I've had my fun with Aït-Nouri and Kuna, but now's the time to sell. And so Watkins with Duran's. Did his ban get extended? I think Duran. You got.
I'm seeing it. Yeah.
I swear I read. I think I heard that his ban got extended for that stamp against Newcastle. I think he got a ban extended. I think I could be making this up, but anyway, he's out for 3 weeks anyway. So either way, Ollie Watkins has his place back in the team. Villa's next game, Aston Villa John Duran faced an extended ban. They're doubling down that he meant it. They're doubling down on that. So Ollie Watkins will get his place back. The only slight concern is he'll get an England call up, might get injured in international duty, but I still think.
I didn't think there was international duty until.
So why is there a break for a week?
FA Cup.
FA Cup, so which he won't play in. Fine. So in which case, there's no risk.
Stephen, you're supposed to know some things about football. Come on, man.
I know.
It's the third round. Third round.
Six millionth in the world for no reason, mate. But anyway, there you go. So Ollie Watkins becomes, I think, a little bit of a must-have again. Aston Villa after Arsenal. Sorry. They have Leicester, Everton, then they have Arsenal in between. Then they have West Ham, Wolves, and Ipswich. So six fixtures. They've got one difficult game. A game which Ollie Watkins can easily score him. Other than that, there's lots of goals in him in that little run. So, but back to Man U. Yeah, I think Diallo, maybe Rodgers is a better bet. I know he just got suspended. Who's the other? There's one of the cheap mid, isn't there, in the game who's not bad to own.
5.5
around that mark, is there maybe? I think Diallo's pricing means you just sort of keep him in if you need to. But yeah, don't buy
Obviously, you're thinking
anyone.
about Jacob Murphy when you're thinking about the other
Of
cheaper midfielder.
course,
Yeah,
of course, I was thinking about
also.
Jacob Murphy.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Alanga,
uh,
5.2. Yeah,
5.2.
but
Okay,
I think
fine.
this. I think the standouts are Morgan Rogers and Ahmad. But Morgan Rogers is suspended for the Leicester game,
Yeah, yeah.
which
But
is really painful.
as mentioned, Aston Villa have a very good run after that. So again, no need to sell him now. But yeah,
Yeah.
Man U were terrible. Every outfield player for Newcastle had a shot on target or a shot, wasn't it? A shot in the first half, which is incredible.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, get rid of Man United and bring in Newcastle United. I think that's very fair. Newcastle also have a very good run coming up as well. In particular, in attack, I think they'll consider. I don't quite like any of the defenders.
Lewis Hall. Lewis
Um,
Hall is the outstanding one. I mean, he got 12
who's
points this
cheap?
week. I mean, I've seen people with defenders that were Lewis Hall, Trent, and like Robinson or something like that.
Hmm.
And that's a really nice back three. It's really well balanced. It's not that expensive. I'm
Livramento is
unfortunately
about to
sitting
come
on.
back as well because Hall's price has gone up. It's only 4.8 still. Livramento might be a bit cheaper.
It's
Maybe
yeah,
he's
it's
gonna
not.
he's gonna come back into the team.
I mean, I wild carded him out, which is annoying me a lot because this has absolutely
Hmm.
killed it since. But anyway, you can. I actually went on FPL Game Week. Worth a plug this. If you go on there and you put in your team name and stuff, it gives you a graph of how well your team has done over the season. And when I saw mine, you can track when I hit the wild card because immediately it fell off the face of a cliff. Honestly, wild card, and it just goes like this down there, down, and now I'm 450,000. Mental. So yeah, but that's the. And what's the final game you wanted to talk about, or do you think you've covered all your games you wanted to
I don't think
mention?
there's anything. I mean, I guess technically a little bit of. No, I don't think there's anything more that we've learned that's interesting, really. Again, Spurs can't defend. West Ham are terrible. Liverpool are good. I mean, yeah. Is there anything else that you think is interesting? Not for me.
No.
I don't think there's anything else.
Well, I kind of want to move on to my team because I'm in a bit of a pickle now, Stephen. So
Right, go on.
currently, I've got Rogers and Cunha. Now, I wanted to keep Cunha because I still think he's going to get chances. I still think he's going to do well despite that run. Having said that, I've looked at the run and that looks pretty awful.
Awful.
And I could probably bring him back in March when it's a bit better. But Rogers being suspended is the real kicker because then it means I have to play Sarr, who's at home to Chelsea, not too bad, but then I've got to play Ahmad away to Liverpool.
Who are
And
your who, who's your
currently,
front?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm playing a 4-4-2.
So who's your front three? You got Kuna. So Kuna.
Cunha's suspended; he
Yeah, no,
can't
but just
play.
who are they? Who are
Yeah,
the three?
so Cunha is at and João Pedro. João Pedro's got Arsenal at home as well.
So João Pedro is obviously cheap, so you probably don't want to. Just do what I did, Kuna to Watkins or Kuna to. Do you say you have Isaac as well? You already have
Yeah,
Isaac.
Isaac. Yeah, I got Isaac. Yeah.
I like Watkins. I think, and the other person who's got quite a good run, if you want to go, should we go into maybe our because my sort of top, middle, and rogue was my top one was Watkins actually, as for the reasons I just mentioned earlier. My rogue one was going to be Mavididi or Jamie Vardy. My middling one was actually Raul Jimenez. Now, I don't really like him slash Fulham for the reason I mentioned earlier. They've got an easy run, which for me means they won't do anything. They have Manu at home, which they'll put, even though Manu are a relegation team, they'll work hard for that. As Ipswich, West Ham, Leicester, I'm going to go out there and say they get 3 points out of 9. Either three draws or one win and two losses. I don't think they'll do as well as they should do in those three games, which is why I'm not completely convinced. But Raul Jimenez, he must be quite cheap still. Seems to have got his place back. He's another option. But either way, sell Kuna. Kuna's price is going to go down as well, I think,
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Raul Jimenez is also 5.5 million.
Yeah. So let's go through that because you kind of rattled it off there. So who's your rogue
Yeah.
shout? Tell us a bit more.
My rogue shout is Mavididi or Jimmy Vardy, just as mentioned. Leicester have a okay-ish run. I think they'll score again. So I can see them scoring at Villa, at Palace, at Fulham, at Tottenham, at Everton. They're going to score. Can't defend.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
cannot.
and that's somehow connected to your testicles also, just for the
Yes.
visual in that.
Mavididi hat trick, feeling in my balls. Yeah.
Good.
Coming at you live.
Your middling shout is Raul Jimenez.
Raul Jimenez. And then I would say, honestly, I think Watkins becomes a banker again. If you can afford him. If you can afford him. If you can't, actually, but annoyingly, I would say now the two bankers are all Isaac and Watkins, both very expensive. They
Yeah,
must be.
yeah,
Are they 2 and 3 behind Haaland maybe in terms of price for forwards? Probably. So
yeah,
if you can afford both, great. If you can only afford one, then that's also probably fine. I have a slight preference towards Isaac. If you want to cover him, Jacob Murphy in midfield will be dirt cheap as well. Um, so yeah, basically Newcastle and Villa, I would say, are the key people to go for in terms of maths. Isaac Watkins are my personal ones. I've got Digne. Hopefully he gets his place back. Um, Rogers as
yeah.
well. I know he's got that 1 game ban, but they still have good fixtures after that as well, Villa.
Yeah, I'm keeping. I'm probably going to keep Rodgers all season.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll go through mine. My rogue shout, and yes, Stephen, I've gone for it. Is
Come on.
Njai, Njai of Everton.
Oh, now we're talking. Now we're
So
talking.
let me tell you about this man. So there's a bit of a story in here as well, but I'll give you the
Mm.
stats to stand up first. So he's 5.4 million. So he's in
Right,
that
okay.
5.5 bracket that I was interested in,
And he's a forward.
and he's a forward.
Okay.
So you can definitely bench him without any issues, and you can play him when you think he's going to do something. He scored a beautiful goal against Man City. It was
It
really
was a very good
nice.
goal.
He's less than 1% owned,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Now we're talking.
And like I said, he'd be a good replacement for a João Pedro or any of those sort of players you're getting pissed off with, or and you want to move on. Um, and yeah, like I said, that goal against City was really nice. I tell you, the anecdotal story I have about this is I was in a pub called the White Swan in Pimlico,
Mm.
and we were watching like I don't know some replay of Sheffield United's promotion to the league that season. And he was playing for them at that time. And
Hmm.
there was a guy next to me who was, being a bit animated about that. And I said, "Oh, so you Sheffield United fan?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, purely for FPL reasons, can you recommend me any player?" And there was a table of a couple of them, and they all said Njai. They said he is the best
Okay.
player they've ever seen play for that club. He then went and
Hmm.
was sold to the French boyhood club, and then he's come back to Everton. But he looks bright, he looks interesting, he looks like a Sean Dice player. Plays on the counter. He had a couple of chances in this game against Forest. Obviously, Forest dominated, but um, honestly, it's not that stupid, I guess, but I think it'd be a really interesting person to have in your bench going forward.
I like him as a player a lot. I think he's a terrific little player, as a Mr. Redknapp would say. There is just one big problem, and
He
my
plays for
voice has
Everton.
changed. He plays for Everton in a dice ball system. Everton are the just double. I was going to say they're the lowest goal scorers in the league. They're not. They're the second lowest behind Southampton. Southampton have scored. So they've scored. Everton have scored 15 goals in 18 games.
Yeah.
So I do like Ndai. I think he's a very very good player. Um, I just can't see Dyche attacking against Bournemouth, Villa, or Tottenham. I just can't. And Brighton, I
Oh,
just
he'll do it
can't.
against Tottenham. They'll get a goal against Dr. Tottenham will be there to help take that fifth tally of 15 to 16 or 17. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
don't know. I do like him as a player, but if you need a 5.5 million forward, as you said, João Pedro or Jamie Vardy
yeah.
are ahead of him,
Well,
unfortunately.
that's why it's rogue
But I
shout,
I
Stephen.
like the thinking though. I like the under
Yeah.
1% owned. I'm liking
Yeah.
it though.
Yeah.
There's some logic to your madness there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then my middling shout is a man from Nottingham Forest, but no, not the one that you hate. This is Morgan Gibbs White.
Yeah,
Now, Rita actually started with him in her team, and he ticked over quite
good
nicely.
player.
Got a couple of good goals, got a 10-point result against Southampton early on in the season. He's 6.4 million, which is a bit pricey, but again, with no Saka in there at the moment, with most people not having Haaland, I think there's cash floating about. I've actually got 4.8 million in the bank at the moment
Mhm.
to spend. He's got, and this blew me away. Like he's got 39 points over the last 5 game weeks with only one blank in there,
Yeah, he's a
and
good
he
player.
absolutely dominated that midfield. So I think if you're looking to move on, any midfielders that are not doing quite so well for you in that sort of 6 to 7 million bracket, I think he's perfect.
Yeah, no, I like him. Wolves next, which should be good. Then he's got Southampton, Bournemouth. I have in his second game, so game
With
week
Liverpool,
21 is Liverpool. Title decider.
it's Liverpool
At
at home
this,
though, isn't it?
it's at the City Ground. Yeah.
I would start
So
him again in that game. I would start him in that game. Why not?
That'd be. I think that's a brave man. Liverpool just look too good. They just look too
They
good
beat
in
them at
every single.
home. They beat them at Anfield.
Oh, the double. They had to be do the double over them, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
this is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And look, I used to live down the road from that, from the city ground, right? And that when it's properly live and pumping, when it's really loud and
Mm.
like it's like a cauldron. And teams do, struggle in that. I'm not saying that they're going to get the win, but I'm saying that they might frustrate. They definitely will, make it difficult for Liverpool to play the way it is. It's at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night
Under the lights.
under the lights, mate. And Liverpool would have played the FA Cup. I can't remember who they're playing FA Cup. Um, I'm looking right now, but it'd be Tuesday night under the lights. That will be an absolutely great game, a popping game. It would be amazing. And so I think the advantage will be in Forest's favour. And look, they what they do and what they're very good at doing is they're very good at strangling teams. Properly slowly crushing them down, and then they get that
Mm.
one chance and they score. They did it against us, right? And Liverpool are far better team than Spurs, but I honestly think that will be not that easy a game for them. And Morgan Gibbs Wright will be the one pulling the strings if they get anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I guess. Anyway, nevertheless, really good player. Really, really good player. Even with the Liverpool game, a pretty good run. Nottingham Forest, as we said before, we'll say it again. It's no longer luck. They deserve to be where they are. I mean, you could even argue that should you really be triple Nottingham Forest? I know I'm not going to bring in Chris Wood, but Chris Wood, I think a lot of people are saying he's a must now because of his price. A Nottingham Forest defender, we still maintain is a must as well. I don't see an
Yeah.
issue with Gibbs White. Alanga's cheap as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you were to say to anyone, would you have your, playing FPL, the team that's second has been basically top four for all season, probably is going to end up top four as well, given that they're probably, I mean, I can't see them
That's
focusing
big.
anything. Well, I can't see City turning it around.
Everyone's
Who are
kind of
their,
failing to catch them, and it's not that they're
yeah,
necessarily like
who are their
steamrolling the league,
threats?
but yeah,
Who's there? I mean, Arsenal. I think Arsenal will be there. It's Liverpool, Arsenal. Chelsea, I still think it's probably, but again, they can drop off. Then who's challenging them? Newcastle, Villa.
yeah,
Newcastle, Villa, I think have already dropped too many points, and Newcastle. I mean, maybe Forest will have a downturn, but I think Villa with having to concentrate in Europe. Newcastle have got the League Cup, which is going to be a big drain for them. Two legs against Arsenal, and then obviously they would like to obviously win that. Um, so yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't now, to be
yeah,
honest with you.
cool.
Yeah.
And then just to go to quickly on my banker because I think it's quite an obvious one, and that's Trent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I just think I kind of want to poo-poo the rumors around Real Madrid and him leaving, but if there are offers on the table, or if they're not, they're only going to get better by him putting absolutely outrageous performances together. I mean, that
Hmm.
pass to Salah in the second half, outside of the boot, literally went round a defender and
Yeah.
reached Salah. I mean, that's like Zidane-esque. Like it was
Hmm.
just ridiculous. Whether he's a defender, midfielder, it doesn't matter. He is just outrageous player, and I think that if you can afford him, get him
Hmm.
in, keep him. He is the reason why I had such the rank fall as well. Yeah, I can't say anything more, but he is my banker. If you can get him, do it. I'm even thinking about the sideways move, Robertson to Trent. Just get it done now. He's got Man
Yeah. Yeah.
United at home, which should be an easy 3 points. So yeah,
Yeah. No, agree.
get
Agree.
him.
Nothing more to add. Agreed.
Cool. So let's as we're coming towards the end now, let's summarize your transfers because you mentioned a few of them in your Stephen ranting way of just rattling them off. So tell us, what have you done? What do you think you've done? Because as you mentioned, you made a drunk transfer.
But
How dare you, of course. But yeah, tell us, what have you done? You know
I
what you've done.
forgot. Yeah, I've looked at it now. I at some point transferred out Stones for Neco Williams. I forgot when I did that. No, I had him last week, didn't I?
You did have him
Oh, I
last
did it
week.
on the I did it on the pod. That's why. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it live on the pod and forgot about it. So okay, so that's what happened. So I've done John Stones, Neco Williams, and then I've done as well. I think actually it's probably worth the points at Kuna to Watkins. I think Watkins is going to get goals against Leicester. I also think Kuna's price is going to drop pretty soon as well. So I was also banking 100 grand as well to a certain degree. So that's what I've done.
Cool, cool. So for me, I haven't done my transfers yet because, as you know, I'm a very conservative manager.
Of course.
But I think you've talked me around to binning Cunha. So my plan would be to get someone in to replace him. Gabriel Jesus is the same price. He's in my thoughts.
Yeah.
I just think having having no Saka is fine, but having no Arsenal attacker for this long a period is quite annoying. Um, the difficulty, of course, is my Spurs bias because obviously the North London derby is in 2 weeks' time,
Mm.
and I really do not want to be cheering on an Arsenal player whilst they play my team. So,
I
um,
don't think anyone at Spurs or Arsenal is that FPL obsessed that they would do that. Um, so look, Brighton away, Tottenham at home, Aston Villa at home. That's not brilliant. So
yeah.
um,
I don't
and
know. I mean, I've look, if I take out Robertson and Cunha, I've got 17.7 million to spend, and these are two free transfers. So I could get Trent in and someone ridiculous. But the thing is, I was kind of hoping to keep the Saka money, but I mean, I
well,
can
he's
always get
he's
back
having
in.
surgery, so
He
Saka's been
had
out for a
surgery,
while.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
I think 8th of March I saw somewhere, so it's a long
Oh,
time.
hamstring surgery doesn't sound great. As I said, what I was Trent and Watkins would seem like the easiest one to do. Um,
Yeah. I do worry about Watkins though. I mean, he's been rotated. I mean, he might
or
come back and absolutely destroy it and then keep his place, but
I
I think
think
it's
I think you should
unlikely.
I think you should put your money where your mouth is and get an Joe then. Really, really, what if you need that sweet Trent money, really back yourself.
I don't need this Trent money. I look I put Trent in. I've got 10.5 million to spend. Like it's loads.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're ranting and we would Rita will tell us off.
Yes.
So maybe I'll get Chris Wood in just to annoy you.
Yeah.
That
That
could be
would
quite
annoy me
fun.
too far.
That would. I mean, he's got quite a good run. So yeah. So those are my thoughts so far. But yeah. So that's the end of the pod, Russ. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope the Christmas period has been joyous for you. In all manners, FPL points and others. Also, I've got to give a shout out and a congratulations to my league rival, one of my mini league rivals, Jake, who's currently sitting third, I think, or second in the mini league for this pod. He has won Manager of the Month for December, which in our podcast me calls a small porcelain toilet, otherwise known as the Bobby James Award. So congratulations to him. It was a close run thing between him and Ollie P. Um, and yeah, look, if you like what we're doing, please give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter. We're trying to put some reels together. Engage with us. Tell us if you think our transfers are terrible. Tell us what you think about our, our bankers and our, rogue shouts. Tell us your rogue shouts. Give us as much as you'd like to. Yeah, I mean, Stephen, anything to say before we close off today?
No, Jake is top of the league, by the way.
Oh wow,
Ollie P did get 100 points in the
yeah,
last
he's
game week, so fair,
overtaken me. Yeah.
yeah, fair play there. No, as always, thank you to our wonderful producer Rita, who's going to be editing this in double quick time.
And yeah, and Arinta, we've got to give OB a shout. She is now up to
Yes,
fourth in the league with a 98 point haul. A couple of 100 pointers out there. Congratulations to those guys. But yeah, I hope the game week goes well, and we'll speak to you next week.
thank you.